Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. And today I bought another one of these watches, except this one's a little bit different. This is a variation of the GW2320, the newest version, and this is part of the 2024 Fire Package collection. Now, every year for the last several years, Casio has put out a Fire Package set of watches, usually 2 watches, and so this is from a previous year, and the other watch that goes with it is this one. So these two are the same basic color schemes, 2 different styles of G-Shock watches. So I got those. And then another year, it was these. And then there's, there's some other versions that have been out there. And usually I kind of drag my feet on buying the Fire Package watches because except for the color differences, they're really no different from your standard issue versions of the watch. And since they are inherently limited edition watches, you're going to pay a little bit more for these Fire Package watches. So what usually happens is they come out early in the year. Maybe they're announced in January. They're available January, February, that sort of thing. And I drag my feet until I see the prices start to go down a little bit, and then maybe I might decide now's the time to get one of these. Also, you should note that these Fire Package watches are typically Japanese-only releases, so you have to buy them through some Japanese seller. In this case, when I bought this one, this was an Amazon purchase from a seller that was selling through Amazon, but they were also coming from Japan. So it's either that sort of deal or an eBay seller with a good rating that I'll use. Some people go with like what they call a gray market seller or whatever. I don't know. There are ways to get this even if you're not in Japan, but just be aware that these are meant for the Japanese market. And in this case, I actually could not find the owner's manual for this in English quite yet. You see, now let me just back up a little bit. Okay, so this one here is the GW2310. It has the features that I like. You know, atomic timekeeping with multiband 6 reception. It has tough solar, so there's a solar cell built into the face of the watch, so it'll set itself. And this one has exactly those same features also, though this is an updated module. Now, in recent years, Casio has quietly been updating some of its modules, and the main thing they've been doing is replacing electroluminescent backlights with LED backlights. And so that is the major difference between these 2 watches, aside from the fact that they're different colors, okay? This older one on the right has an electroluminescent backlight, and this one has an LED backlight. Now, here's a pair of watches that are basically the same model. These are G-Shock squares that have the carbon fiber, bezel and watch band on these, and a titanium watch back on these. Even though these watches look the same and pretty much behave the same, this here is an updated module compared to this one. Just a few years ago, they updated the modules on these G-Shock squares that had multiband 6 and tough solar. So even though it's hard to tell the difference between these 2, there are some significant differences. Right there, AEL indicating the electroluminescent backlight, and this one LT is indicating it has an LED backlight. But there are also some significant features on this newer module. For example, the world time mode has 5 time zones that you can easily access. It has the ability to display the date here, either in this order with month date or date month. It also has the ability to set the countdown timer in hours, minutes, and seconds instead of just hours and minutes. So these may be minor updates, but that's the difference that they introduced in the square watches just a little while ago. So I thought that maybe the differences between these 2 modules would be a little bit more than just the color and the backlight. But as far as I can tell, that's the only real difference. Backlight is different, and the color is obviously different. That's it. Now, this comes with a little tag here that tells you everything about it with these little icons here. So here you can see it's a G-Shock, 20 bar water resistant, has the full auto super illuminator LED, some other things there, your stopwatch and your 24-hour in mute mode. And right there's the official model name, GW2320FP-1A4JR, JR usually referring to the Japanese market there. And there's the module 3537. So this is a brand new module, and like I said, all I can figure out is the only thing different about it is the light. I tried to find the module manual on the Casio website, and it would not give me one in English. I was able to find one in Japanese, tried to run it through a Google Translator, and it was able to translate most of it. But yeah, then just actually having it in my hands and working through the different functions and features, I can confirm that from my research, only difference is the backlight. Now, incidentally, there is a fire package version of this watch here with the analog version here, right? So you can find one that has this color scheme on this style of watch, and I'll probably get one, but for now, the price hasn't gone down yet, so I'm dragging my feet on that. But when you get the fire package here, it does come in this kind of packaging. So let me show you here when it's all put together. They got kind of that little shadowy thing there that makes it look like maybe a starry night. I don't know what that is there. And then inside of it, instead of metal pieces, now it's all made of fabric or some type of paper material. It has this little thing, I don't know, tether with kind of a little fake cardboard dog tag on it. So there's that. And then it has a little bag, which, the watch is sitting in this little fabric bag. And, I don't think I'll ever use this bag again to put the watch back in the bag. But, if you want a little pouch with a G-Shock logo on it, there you go. And then it had, again, the Japanese owner's manual in there, completely in Japanese. Okay, so if you're getting an authentic one, you want to make sure you got everything that goes with it. This is the packaging you will see. Other than that, I don't really care to show you unboxing. It's really not necessary. Let me go through the functions and features of this watch. Pretty good looking color scheme there. And of course, the positive LCD makes it very legible, very easy to read that. So here you can see this little thing, little slices of the pie here on this dial here. Those bottom three are the battery indicator showing right now that it's on a high charge. It would be low, medium, or high. And that, again, it's being recharged by the solar cell built into the face of the watch. So that tells you it's well charged right now. If it gets down below mid, so mid and high, everything works fine. If it gets lower than that, then some of the functions shut down in order to save battery power. And if this right here where it says CHG, if that little slice of the pie is flashing or if that's visible, that means it's so low that it's really not going to do anything for you until you charge it up. Charging it up is easy. All you have to do is expose it to a good bright light source. You don't have to put it in direct sunlight. You don't have to put it too close to a light because you don't want it to heat up. But once it's fully charged, I find that these tough solar watches tend to stay fully charged with just normal exposure to everyday normal lighting conditions in your house, or if you work outside and you just wear it, you're not wearing long sleeves that would cover the watch. But as long as it's getting that normal amount of light every day, it should retain a really good charge. That other slice of the pie up there is PS for power save, and I'll tell you about the power save enabling in just a moment. But as you can see right here, you've got the day of the week abbreviated. There's the month and date. Here's the time. And a couple other indications on there, the P meaning, 12 p.m. Or you could set this to 24-hour time. And then RCVD means that the last time it tried to receive atomic time information from any of 6 transmitters in different parts of the world, it was successful. That's what that means. LT means that the automatic backlight is enabled. And I'll talk about that in a moment. Now, compared to over here, there's a few other things that might be showing. Mute mode, snooze, so the snooze alarm, and that bell icon indicates an hourly chime. So those are the things you're going to see on your main timekeeping home screen here. Also, if I tap this button up here marked reverse, it's going to show me right now the local time and my world time. I've selected UTC for my world time. So if you want to walk around with the world time zone and your local time zone together on at the same time, you can put it in this mode, and you've got that option, toggling that back and forth with this reverse button. If you want it to show the world time zone that you select all the time, press the mode button, and there you're in the world time mode. So this is showing me the time at UTC, and I can go forward with this. If I push the forward button, it's like I'm going eastward on the map to select some other time zone, or I can go reverse. it's like I'm going westward on the map to select some other time zone. And it has 48 time zones with little abbreviations to mark a major city or airport in those different time zones. So I'm going to leave it on UTC for now. Now, the next mode is your alarm mode, and these haven't been set yet. So you have 5 alarms, and the 5th one is a snooze alarm. So when the snooze alarm is enabled, it's going to go, like in this case, it would be 12 midnight. And then 5 minutes later, it would go again for 10 seconds. It would make those beeps. And then 5 minutes after that, it would keep going. It'd keep going up to half an hour after the time that you've set. That's what the snooze alarm does if you turn it on there. And then you see right on the indicator on the face, it shows you, hey, a snooze alarm has been enabled. I'll turn that off. The hourly chime is also in this alarm setting mode, and see that's on now. And if it's just a normal alarm that's not a snooze alarm, if I turn that on, then you get that indication right there. So very familiar. I think if you got other Casio watches, that's going to seem very familiar and pretty easy to keep track of those 5 alarms that you can use. You don't have to use any of them, or you could use all 5 of them, or any number between 1 and 5. Okay, next mode is going to be your stopwatch mode. So again, very straightforward. Push that button down there to start it. Push the button up here for a split time, or you can stop the stopwatch and reset. Again, very familiar. If you've used stopwatches on digital watches before. This will go all the way up to 24 hours if you don't stop it. And then at 24 hours, it'll reset to 0 and just start over until you stop it or reset it or whatever you want to do with that. Next up is your countdown timer. Now, when it's set to all zeros like this, if I start it, it's a true 24-hour countdown timer. And it does not repeat, just a one-time only thing. So if you want to repeat it, you have to wait till it stops and push buttons to start it again. Let's see, reset it right there. And again, you can adjust with this one any combination of hours and minutes to get whatever duration you're typically using there. And you can go backward or forward using these buttons here to set your timer and then just let it go. Now, if the timer is running, then the Multiband 6 atomic time reception is disabled until it runs out, or if you stop it, then that'll work there. So I've had that happen before. I got a brand new watch and I started playing with it and I turned on a countdown timer, and then I tried to use Multiband 6 and suddenly Multiband 6 didn't work. It was because a countdown timer was running at that time. So, and then the mode button takes me right back to the home screen. Now, as far as that Multiband 6 atomic time reception, so there are 6 transmitters in different parts of the world that will transmit time and date information to this watch and give you the correct time right down to the second. And depending on the time zone, if you've set this watch to a time zone that should work with Multiband 6, then it will try. But if you set it to a time zone that Casio knows, well, that time zone is just out of range of the transmitters, it won't even try to do Multiband 6 reception. So keep that in mind also if you're troubleshooting there. Make sure you've set this to a time zone where Multiband 6 is supposed to work. This button down here, if I go from this main timekeeping screen, push that button there, this will tell me the last time it was able to receive atomic time information, which was 12:04, just after midnight this morning. If you've got an automatic reception for Multiband 6, then what it does is at midnight it tries to receive for a few minutes, and if it's successful, it stops and waits till the next night around midnight. If it's not successful, it's going to try every hour up to 6 times to set itself. And so that's kind of nice. If for some reason you don't want it to set itself, you want it set to the wrong time, or trying to save batteries or whatever, you can, from this right here, hold the adjust button, and then you can turn the radio control off that way, or I'm just going to leave it on because I really appreciate that. So there's that. All right. So other than that, let's see the initial setup. Here's what you want to do. Okay. You're in this mode here and you hold the adjust button until things start to blink. First of all, your time zone, you can select whatever time zone you are in. I selected Denver because that's the mountain time zone of the United States. And even though I'm in Utah, that's the correct time zone for me. But you can go westward on the map by tapping this reverse button, or eastward on the map with this forward button to select some other time zone appropriate for where you are. Next, if I push the mode button, then it's daylight saving time. So daylight saving time can automatically displayed change on the display from, on or off when it's appropriate. Or you can manually change it to daylight saving time always off or always on, but I'm going to leave it on automatic because that works for where I am. Next, 12-hour or 24-hour display, and that works for all modes in the watch. This is where you set that up. Next, you can manually set the time, hours, minutes, seconds, also the year and the month and the date. You can manually set those if you want to, if you're having some trouble, it's not setting itself. But if you've set it to some other time that's not the real time, and then Multiband 6 kicks in and receives the real time, it's going to overwrite your settings that you did right here with all that. Next, key. So what the key means is that every time you press a button, there's a little bit of a beep on this watch. So you can mute that right here, and then you see mute appears there. And so now it's only going to make beeps at certain times, like when you have a countdown timer that runs out, then it'll beep, or the alarms, it'll beep, or if you've got the hourly signal enabled, then it will beep. Otherwise, it's not going to beep at any other times when you got it in mute mode. But when it's in key mode, then you're going to get beeps almost every time you press a button to change modes or start and stop the stopwatch, stuff like that. So I don't know. Sometimes I leave it on key, sometimes I leave it on mute if I want to be a little bit more discreet, if I'm fiddling with my watch and don't want to make a whole bunch of beeps. Next, the backlight can be set to 3-second duration or a 1.5-second duration. I usually leave it on the longer duration just because I like it. But if you wanted to save battery power, you might put that on a short duration. And here's your light button right here to turn on that light if you got that going. Okay, next is power save. So power save is on right now. I could turn that off or on. What power save does is it tries to save batteries, battery charge, by turning off the display overnight when the watch is not being used. So if you're not wearing the watch and it's in the dark, then after 10 o'clock, wait till about 11 or so, about an hour after 10 o'clock, the display will go blank and just stay off until a couple things happen. Well, if you press any button, the display comes back on. Or if you expose it to a good light source, you go to a well-lit room, then the display will come back on. Or, I guess that's it. But anytime between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., the display might turn off if power save is enabled. Oh no, the other thing that will turn it back on is kind of shake the watch, because there's a sensor inside to tell it whether the watch is moving. So if the watch starts moving, then it's going to figure out, you're trying to use it, and then the display will come back on. So yeah, that is the third way to make it come back out of that sleep mode if power save is enabled. And that's everything that has to happen for your basic setup and use of this watch. Now, this watch is actually being saved for a special occasion, so I'm really not supposed to have it yet. So I'm going to show you what this watch, that's kind of its fraternal twin, how this wears. And you can see on my 7.5-inch wrist, there's not a lot of spare space on this watch band or strap. So, but it wears fine. And all things considered here, these do seem like they're a little bit smaller, even though they're really not that much smaller than your typical G-Shocks. But somehow they just kind of feel like a smaller watch. So this may be a good fit if you have a smaller wrist. To get one of these watches. These watches get overlooked a lot because they're not the G-Shock squares. They're not the most popular high-profile G-Shock watches out there. But those people who have these variations of the GW2310 or GW2320, they really like them. So, give it a shot. The first time I saw, it was this watch. Kind of the basic version without any special colors on it. When I first saw this kind of online and in the catalogs, whatever, just different websites, all the angular pieces on there, I wasn't quite sure if I would like the way it looked. But as with most Casio watches that I've seen, they usually look a lot better in person than they do in the illustrations you might have seen. This one, to me, just on the surface, seemed like it reminded me of something the Klingons would wear in Star Trek The Next Generation. All these angular things and these little things kind of protruding out for no reason, like Klingon armor or something. But once I got it and had it, in front of my eyes, it didn't really remind me of Star Trek at all. And I should tell you that one other thing I didn't really realize, there for a while, Casio was releasing versions of this watch, different colors, most of them with negative displays, that didn't have a watch band or a strap, instead had a bracelet. So in the next few weeks, you can expect me to further explore the idea of putting a bracelet on this watch or maybe this watch. We'll see which ones are lucky enough to get a bracelet, or maybe more than one bracelet. So watch for that. Yes, bracelets made just for this watch. How can it be? On this display, there's the LT right there. And what that means is that an automatic backlight has been enabled. Well, what does that mean? Automatic backlight. It means that there's a sensor inside. So when you're just holding the watch, but then you kind of turn it up like this on your wrist and turn it towards your face, the sensor inside the watch kind of senses that position of the watch, and then it will turn on the light for either 1.5 or 3 seconds, whichever duration you have selected. So you don't have to have it automatically do that. The way to enable or disable that is just to press this light button, which is right here. So if I press and hold that for just a moment, you can kind of see the effect of the backlight. And then there it goes. The LT went away. So now it's not going to automatically turn on. But if I want to enable the automatic backlight again, just hold that button down until LT appears, and now it will be automatic. It's not going to be automatic like that when it's in a well-lit area like I am right now, because the solar cell kind of works as a light sensor. But it will work when you're in the dark, or the automatic backlight will actually work if you're wearing this in the daytime, but you've got long sleeves or a jacket or something covering the face of the watch. So be careful about that. You could be wearing this watch all day with it covered up by your sleeves, and you're unaware that it's going to be turning on that backlight all the time as you're moving around. So you might want to be careful that you don't run the battery down too much by covering it up when you're wearing it. And here's a little comparison of what these backlights look like. The one on the left being the newer one with LEDs, and the one on the right being the older electroluminescent version. So you can see, there's a difference there. I think, to me, I do think I prefer the LED one over here, even though it's kind of got hot spots in the corner. But overall, those don't bother me. When you're looking at it with your eyes, it looks great. And it really, overall, looks brighter. Okay. Some people just really love the look of this electroluminescent with that kind of constant green glow there. This one being a little bit more of a bluish, whitish glow on the new one. But yeah, there's still a bunch of these around. If you really prefer this old look here, you can get that. But if you're going to get this new one, this is the only one so far they've put out with this module. That's what your backlight is going to look like. And with that, I think that's about enough for today's video. Again, watch for more follow-ups, a little bit more information about these GW2300 series watches coming soon. I hope you will join me again for that episode of the Good Timekeeping Show.